up our mental energy. Something to think about for just a second. John Tierney is a co-author of a New York's Times best-selling book, Willpower. And he says, decision fatigue helps explain why ordinarily sensible people get angry at colleagues and families, why we splurge on clothes or buy junk food at the supermarket. Now, no matter what the rationale and high-minded you might be, you make decisions after decisions without paying a biological price. It's different from ordinary physical fatigue. It's what we are low on mental energy. Who knew that we could be low on mental energy, right? That's why Steve Jobs wore the exact same outfit every single day. A minute from a day using his brain power to decide which t-shirt to wear is less brain powered, he would have to think about the latest iPod development. In this pandemic, our decision fatigue is up to the max. And you have to understand this, both to understand ourselves and to understand our community, that this is a great time of uncertainty. And we all know that right now because we face it every single day. And in times of great uncertainty, we must remember to lead with compassion. Even the most experienced leader, we're all human. Now, I urge you to keep in mind the words of the author, Dos Santa Mata. When passing through the storm of life, please remember two things. One, it could be worse. Two, it will get better. Stay strong, focus on what you can do and not what you can't. And know the clouds will soon part and the sun will return again. Now, life is a series of choices. For the sake of children, we must make PTA the easy choice, both for ourselves and for those in our communities. Okay, so there's Steve Jobs. Notice he has on his black turtleneck and the jeans. And so if you can go to the screen that says Leading in a Crisis, right? We're right after that one. So this is the screen that we're on. Good job. Thank you, Rebecca. So we can't be hindered by fear because of these storms that we're in right now of life. But there's a unique opportunity for us to start fresh, to do something new and different, because the older options and the ways that we've done stuff in the past just don't fit like they've used to. So this is our opportunity to be open and flexible as we create new ways to engage everyone around us, to ensure our children, families, schools, and communities are safe, healthy, and have what they need to thrive. So I challenge each of you to embrace the season of change, because this journey through this storm will leave you and your PTA stronger than you've ever been. Who knew that we would be in this pandemic right now? So just imagine how stronger you will be after this pandemic is over. Through the stress of these last few months, there are lessons that we've all learned and how we've had to engage everyone in the virtual world. We're doing it right now. We have lessons about being brave, about being flexible, and being deeply committed to the meetings and the needs of every child. So we're going to go to the next slide, if you don't mind, Rebecca. Let me see. I'm thinking that will be the next one. Next one. There we go. Thank you. So one great example of this comes from right here in Nevada. Howard Watson Elementary School PTA is one of our national PTA COVID-19 Relief Fund grantees, and provided through the generosity of our proud national sponsor, TikTok. Throughout the pandemic, they've worked extremely hard to support the mental health of their students by reinforcing community values of kindness and creativity. They've used their grant funding to provide personal postcards and positive messages bracelets making kits for almost 115 students. 115 students, everyone. That's amazing. To remind them that they are cared for and missed. They're also in the process of distributing art supplies kits and establishing a series of virtual assemblies to foster a sense of connection and creative, positive emotional outlets during this stressful time. And then to know one example, just barely scratches the surface of what they're doing here in Nevada. We're so proud of all the work that you guys are doing. And I want you to know that National PTA remains committed to supporting and advocating for you, our families, our schools, and our communities. And as you navigate through the challenges that have arisen during this time, okay, we're going to go to the next slide. I want you guys to take an inventory of the needs in your school community. Please know that PTA always has your back. National PTA has a number of resources available to you, including grant funding, webinar discussion on trending topics, and leadership training through the PTA Kit and the PTA Bootcamp. I encourage you to explore these at pta.org. As you can see on the screen is the new membership marketing campaign. And I particularly want to encourage you to explore our new membership membership marketing campaign, PTA for your child. In a social distance world, PTAs are more important than ever in connecting parents, teachers, administrators, and supporting critical school needs. Yet, joining PTA is not always seen as necessary for essential for parents of children that have their kids inside of our schools. Now, why is that important? We want every one of our families in our schools to join PTA. That's why National PTA created a new membership campaign, PTA for your child. It's designed to drive and motivate PTA membership, both new and to get membership renewals. Our new membership PTA theme, if you don't mind going to the next slide, Rebecca, is PTA is no longer a noun, it's a verb. It's an action plan to support your child's success. By using this campaign materials, you shift perception away from PTA as extra to PTA is essential, by showing people how the PTA specifically helps their child succeed. PTA for your child is an invitation to every family in every school to participate, because there's no wrong way to PTA. They can join by giving money or by joining. They can volunteer their time and effort, or they can even help grow our strength and presence at the local, state, and national levels as an advocate for improving our children's education. Okay, can you go to the next slide, Rebecca? Did you go to the next one? There we go. Okay, so let's see, where are we? Okay, you keep going forward. You need to go back just a tad bit. Okay, yep, we're way ahead. So just stay right there. Okay, yep, keep going back. Okay, right there. There you go. Don't you guys love the virtual world? This is so amazing. Now, how do you communicate the PTA way? What does this campaign look like? Let us show you how to PTA for your child, because there's no wrong way to PTA. And we want you guys to download this free kit and this step-by-step guide, the social media materials, and the elevator pitch. It even has an elevator pitch. Yes, I said elevator pitch twice, because I want you to know that it's simple. And it's at pta.org. Remember, just like you, all of our students and families and the PTAs, everywhere that we serve children, is going to feel scary sometimes, and uncertain about the future. And I want you to remember that fear is an uncertainty, and exactly why we should be a part of our PTA. Then that is why people should be a part of our PTA, because of fear and the uncertainty. And it's up to all of us to let every student and family in our schools know that PTA uniquely understands and support their needs. That's why we've asked you guys to join PTA. In order to take their fear and uncertainty and turn it into an action plan to support student success of the entire community. I challenge each of you to take everything you've learned during this state convention, that you will learn during the state convention, and put in the new membership campaign right into action. Remember, the PTA, your child campaign, doesn't live without you. Think bigger about who can support, who can join, and be the best advocate for every child. Ask parents and guardians, and of course, but also ask grandparents, aunts, uncles, teachers, administrators, business owners, faith leaders. As a matter of fact, ask everyone to join. You don't have to have a student in school to join. We need everybody's voices at the table. And I'm challenging you to start having these hard conversations about who historically has not been a part of your PTA and why. Okay, Rebecca, can you go to the next slide? Go to the next one. Okay, right there. Thank you. In July, the National PTA Board of Directors adopted a position statement on addressing institutional racism. PTA condemns the inequitable and brutal treatment of all African American across this country. And we stand firmly against racism in all forms and a culture of oppression that permeates in the United States. It's important that we take time to listen, to experience others. As we continue to witness the inequitable and brutal treatment of African Americans in this country, and the protests across the country and the world proclaiming that Black Lives Matter, our position statement addressing institutional racism boldly reaffirms National PTA's commitment to listen, educate, and advocate beyond the rhetoric. As an association that represents all children and families, we have a rich legacy in coming together to help solve the toughest problems facing all of our communities. And we believe it is our duty to disrupt the systems that believe in this institutional racism. This position statement outlines how we together can be intentional, purposeful, and relentless. And up until every person enjoys the freedoms guaranteed to all Americans, we will continue to fight. Local advocacy should focus on issues such as disparate discipline, equitable education for immigrant children, recruitment and retention of Black and Brown teachers, housing development policies, access to health care, and juvenile and criminal justice. You can choose to make a difference on these issues. And if you believe that these issues are not affecting you or anyone in your community, check and see. It's important that we become educated on these issues so we can use our voices to advocate for all children. And you're not alone. We support you in this effort. It's crucial to engage with all of our families and educators and communities to make every child's potential a reality. Our children of color need our strong voices to speak up so they can have the opportunity and resources that they need to achieve their dreams. This position statement clearly defines that PTA's critical role is making our schools, communities, and country better for every child. And we encourage you to read our position statement, share it with your community, and take the courageous steps to listen, educate, and advocate for our children, families, and communities of color. One of my favorite congressmen of all time was John Lewis. And he said something that I'll never forget. It's a great quote by him. We must be headlights and not tail lights. Now is the time that we act. We can't afford to wait on the sideline. Our children need us and our voices. And it's up to each of us to choose a better future for our nation. It's up to each of us to lead with open minds and brave hearts. And most importantly, it's up to each of us to make sure that every child's potential becomes a reality. We are a community. We are one community. We are one PTA. And we can do more together than we can apart. I look forward to everything we're going to accomplish this year, despite our struggles. Keep up the good work and know that you're not in this alone. Thank you for letting me join you at this virtual convention, and thank you for being here and wanting to learn ways to become a better leader, to represent all of the families and the children in your schools and in your communities. And please remember to ask everyone to join this wonderful association of ours because it's important. Our children are dependent on us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. And it looks like hopefully technology is going to be my friend and let me not have me freeze. I appreciate so much what you shared. And we wanted to have a little conversation about kind of this. So many things are happening in PTA right now that I absolutely love because I think they're so relevant to now. The membership campaign, which I've got as my background, I love the "there is no wrong way to PTA," because I think we need to change that perception, right? And
Yes.
I openly admit I'm a minivan mom. I've got 4 kids, and I drive by a Honda Odyssey, and I'm proud of it. But at the same time, PTA is so much more, and it needs to be for everyone, and recognizing that there's not just one. So since we have you here with us, we wanted to have a conversation as a follow-up to what you shared. And we have, everybody can turn their cameras back on so you're not screens, so that everybody can see each other. And we wanted to just kind of ask some questions of you. And I will actually start, and then I'm going to go to Kume after me. But
Did you say you're going to the baby after you?
Yes.
Oh, goodness. Okay. I'm ready.
So my kids have attended a school that actually shares a fence with Ann Lynch Elementary School. So Ann Lynch was a past president, the only Nevadan to be a past president of the National PTA. And I thought about that as I was driving by and knew you were coming in this topic. And I wanted to ask you kind of a big question, but I'm interested to hear your answer. You know, she is somebody who years ago, who knows what she knew her legacy would be, right? You have your presidency as National PTA is going to be in the midst of some of the most pivotal years in education, because the pandemic has highlighted so many massive issues with poverty, racism, healthcare, so many things that affect our children. How do you want to see PTA in 10, 15 years? And how do you think we get there, especially in this concept of making sure it fits for all people?
That's a great question. So where do I want us to be in 10 to 15 years?
Mm-hmm.
That's simple. Every child has an advocate, somebody that will represent them as a voice for them. If it's not their parent, it's a community leader, it's a faith leader. Our membership will be up. How will we get our membership up? By being inclusive. Every family is going to feel like they belong to this association, and not because it's a clique. It's because they know that PTA is the voice and reason that advocates for all kids and creates this avenue and programs and gives parents and leaders the resources that they need to build transformative family engagement by being inclusive intentionally. Everything that we have to do has to be intentionally. So 10 years from now, our demographics of students won't look the same. If you look at data, it shows that Black and Brown students will be the majority and not the minority. So we should have a representation on all of our state boards and our local boards by being welcoming. And every family feeling excited about being a part of an association that they know and believe in their heart is being the voice for their children. Not only that, but our students. Our students are going to want to be a part of this and to keep this this 123-year legacy moving forward, because they're our future. And so we need to have more students involved and engaged with the process moving forward as well. So in 10 years from now and 15 years from now, I want to see that our membership has increased by the family engagement that we have, by the program and the resources that we give, and that the student voice is elevated. That's really important to me. And I'm really glad that you have a student on here, because without our students, right, they're our future. And we have to educate them now so they can be a great, loud voice in the future.
Yeah. I love that you also highlighted the need to be inclusive in that. And that is a thing that in Nevada we are working on, but it is a journey for us. If you look out across our PTAs, Nevada is a majority minority state. We have a huge Spanish-speaking population, and when you look out across our PTAs, we don't fully see that mirrored in our units, and that's one of our goals, is to ensure that we're reaching out to everybody. I always say, if you care about kids, you should have a place in PTA, and that's where, most people are going to answer yes to that statement, that they care about kids. So we need to invite them in to be part of us. And so we do have, I don't want to call you a kid, Kume, but because you're an old soul.
It's so cute.
But Kume is an entrepreneur and a well-known advocate in our community. She organized a very large Kids Against Racism rally this summer, effectively providing a space for young people to share their advocacy as well. And so in elementary school was a regular PTAer, and we are excited to have you with us tonight, Kume, to ask Ms. King a question as well.
So let me ask you, are you going to be the president in 20 years from now?
No.
Okay, well, I thought I'd put it out there. Okay, I'm ready.
So as Rebecca was saying, I've organized 2 anti-racism events. I've done a more recent one. It was a photo shoot here in Las Vegas. Both times I had a lot of support from the community, but it also had brought some negative attention. I know PTA is all about diversity and inclusion, and so in what ways can children help?
By being at everything and doing what you're doing, by being a voice. But what's important, though, is for adults to be intentional by letting children be a part of what we do. See, PTA is so focused sometimes on the parents of doing the job that we forget that our students are the future and the voice. So we should open the doors and allow our students to come in and to learn from us so they can become better leaders. So to get more children involved, we have to first ask them to be involved, create a space for them to have this space where they feel comfortable, where they can learn, and to take in their ideas, because their ideas, you guys are a different generation from us. I listen to my grandkids. What they're thinking about is not what I'm thinking about or what I was thinking about at their age. And so you can teach us how to motivate to get more students involved. And I'm going to tell you that I applaud you on many levels just for having the courage to step up into a community and to do different things to bring awareness to something that's very tender to people right now. And people sometimes don't feel comfortable talking about racism. And it's something that's needed, and it's really necessary for you to take that leap and to have a conversation as a child when there are many adults that don't want to have it. I applaud you on many levels. So you keep doing the work that you're doing and getting the word out that students are important to this association and that your voices they matter just as much or even more than the parents do.
Thank you.
So thank you. Oh, you're so cute.
Thank you, Kume. I think that that's an important lesson for us as leaders to remember, is that diversity comes in so many different ways. It's language, race, age, family demographics, yes, generations. Everything. And so we need to recognize that is all over the place. And Kume, you are an example for us, and it keeps us motivated to one day be ready to support you. Not one day, you're already doing it, so I shouldn't say one day. Sue, I'm going to call on you next. So as I said, Sue, what year did you start? I always call her out on this. What year did you start with Nevada PTA?
I was a little worried about tonight's topic because it was, not your mom's PTA, and realizing, looking at all of you, and I'm sure everybody who's attending, I could easily be their mom, because I started in 1985 literally typing on a typewriter without correcto backspace, the newsletter for Robert Taylor PTA when my son was 5. So I just jumped in because I just figured it was the right thing to do. And I've had the blessing of I served on the local unit level, the council level, the state level. I worked for Nevada PTA for 7 years, where I got just this amazing amount of knowledge. But, when I started, PTA was P period, T period, A period. That's how long ago it was. Every child, one voice didn't exist.
Wow.
So I must say that, I love my experience of, during the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s, but I love the marketing campaign. And you've inspired me, Anna, to go out and reach out to all of our past board members over the years for Nevada PTA, and including, my church members and just people I play pickleball with or something, to say, hey, why don't you join Nevada PTA, be part of our Battleborn? I know your kids are gone or you don't have any kids, but you've given me just that incentive to go out and really push for us, because I have loved PTA ever since, and I will stay involved as long as I can. And, I appreciate your message tonight. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And so, what's really interesting is, so I have grandkids too, right? I have 9 of them, and I absolutely adore them. And so I don't have any kids in the high school level, but on my block are all grandparents, right? And they know every year in October I'm going to come and ask them to join our neighborhood PTA, because it's automatic. And I've been doing that for the last 10 years because they represent our neighborhood school.
Sure.
Even though they don't have kids, we still pay taxes, and it's our neighborhood school. And so our kids that have come out of our neighborhoods and out of other neighborhoods in our area, this is beneficial for them. So to go back and to ask older board members, it's everybody, right? And it's PTA. So I ask people to join PTA. I don't say join Nevada PTA or join National PTA. I say join PTA, because there's one PTA, and I do that on purpose because PTA is a brand. And PTA has been around for 123 years that advocates for kids. That's what we do, and we do it very well. And so when they understand that their voice is going to benefit babies like Kamei or your grandkids or my grandkids, it's not just about the kids in our states, because when we become a member, and we advocate for all kids with that one voice for every child. And so I want everybody to understand that this new membership campaign it has a purpose. Right? There's no wrong way to PTA. You can PTA at home, like we're doing right now through this virtual convention. We can do it in person. We can do it in a parking lot. We can do it in school. We can do it in a community center. Wherever we are, we should be PTAing, because it's important for us to get everybody to be a part of what we're doing, because it's going to help our children in their future. There's nothing better than that. So thank you for saying that, and bless you. 1985, girl. Ooh. I love it. You don't understand. I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
And Sue keeps us in line on the state board and helps us not forget anything. She's all the secretaries who are listening, get ready for her training. She is the model secretary to learn from. Next, I'm gonna.
I do have a lot of institutional knowledge. I'll give you that.
Next, I'm going to go to Tiari Norwood, who is our Vice President of Programs and lives in North Las Vegas.
North Las Vegas, yes. I haven't seen it.
The best bit of information about me. I am Kumei's mom. So Kumei is actually my daughter. She's in a separate room of the house right now. She's sitting on a bed, which is why her computer's kind of bouncing around a little. But yeah, I'm very proud to be Kumei's mom. It's one of my greatest accomplishments that I did almost absolutely nothing to deserve. But she's a great kid. She advocates a lot for people like her, people that are different from her. She's a great person. And don't tell my husband, but she's my best friend. So with Kumei in mind, I was we had a discussion about how she was a little nervous. She's excited. She wants to go back to school, but she's also nervous because since school's closed, there's been a lot of stuff. There's just been a lot that's happened. A lot of division in the country, a lot of stuff on the news, a lot of sadness. And she's worried that, although she's trying to combat it, she's worried that it'll be different. The school dynamic will be different. Kids will take on their parents' biases, and not intentionally, you know, not intentionally. But she just feels like there's going to be a struggle. And so with that in mind, I kind of went to PTA's website and looked up some resources on how parents can talk to their children about equity, inequality, and racism and current events. And I came across an article that said, I guess I don't really have a question. I'm just going to say, I'm going to kind of commend PTA for some stances and the resources they're providing to parents that parents probably don't realize are on the website.
Mm-hmm.
I saw an article about talking to your child, even at 5 years old, about racism or implicit biases that they may not realize they have. And so if anybody is kind of struggling with whether or not they should speak to their children about something before they go back to school or at a certain point in the near future, PTA.org has a ton of articles that can help you. There's just so many resources and ways for you to feel more comfortable discussing issues like that with your child. And because my family, not just myself, but my family discusses these things together, we have Kume, you know, who is open and willing to speak about things and sit on a panel with adults and talk about current events and PTA. So I feel like if you're scared to speak to your child about current events, go online. We're all online all day. Don't lie, you are. So just go to PTA.org. There is a diversity and inclusion tab that you can click on with tons of resources. And I guess in short, I just want to thank PTA for having that on there.
Well, we have to be intentional in everything we do. And when we talk to parents, I've been asked that a lot. My mother taught us about racism when we were smaller. I did the same thing with my kids, to let them know that you're going to be facing different issues when you get older, and this is why. And so absolutely, I'm having a conversation with my grandchildren. I have a 2-year-old now that is saying Black Lives Matter. And so we're asking her, why do you think this? Why is it important for you to understand this, right? So the sooner that we can talk to them to teach them about empathy is important, because if we don't teach them, they're going to learn it from people outside of the house. They're going to learn it from the social media websites. They're going to learn it from social media, from their friends. And what is it that we want to teach our kids? What is it that we want them to learn about what the world looks like? What is racism? Why does it exist? And how we can be different to change that narrative. The sooner that we can have these honest discussions with our kids, they remember these things as they get older. And like your baby on here, she's in middle school, having rallies and stuff to talk about racism. And she's, like you said, she's on a panel with adults. So you're having these conversations with them early, gives them the confidence that they need to talk about it when they get older. And that's really important, especially, and I'm not going to say just for kids of color, I'm going to say for every child, right? But it really affects children of color because they see things different. They're treated a little bit differently inside of our schools and our communities. And I really love how this panel is diverse, right? From age, demographics, from generation. I really love how you did this, Rebecca, because this is showcasing who we are. Right? So the generation before me, the generations after me, the 2 generations after me, it's so important that all of these voices are at the table. And it's so important to have these young babies right here at the table giving input, because they're going to be going through schools, and Kamei is going to be different when you go to school, baby. We can't go back to how it was before. We'll never go back to how it was before. It's going to be different. And so please utilize, and thank you for promoting the website. There are a lot of resources there, and they were intentionally put there to help parents go through everything that we're going through with school reopenings, the pandemic, racism, and everything. So thank you for promoting that.
Thank you, Terry, for sharing that. I know yesterday there was an update to the website with a lot of resources really specific to this kind of virtual world, from family engagement to, you know, the current events, racism, diversity, all these different questions that are coming up right now. And I think it's a really important reminder to realize that, you know, PTA has been tackling big issues since its foundation. And I think sometimes we think of the fun events that happen at school, and those are great. Like, we all love the community building activities that we do. And some of us are missing those. Some of us, like me, are happy to not have to plan one this year. But anyway, but I'm just saying. But there are so many resources out there, because it's about, again, it all goes back to how do we help kids? And in order to help kids, we have to recognize what the world is like for our kids right now, and give parents the resources and teachers the resources to be able to work with them. I loved in the town hall that PTA did with Common Sense Media about racism and bias and trauma. And there's been so many different events about kids' mental health, because I think that's a huge concern. I know I've heard that from a ton of people here in our state, that mental health is just weighing heavily. And the resources at pta.org connect to some great information about mental health as well. And that's important for everybody to remember, that we need to connect. I love how you said it, Anna, that we're one PTA. So, you know, we take advantage of all those things that are happening at the national level. I know when I first joined as a pre-K mom to my little 4-year-old, I didn't think about the national stuff as much. And now I see how much is there, and I don't know that we all take advantage of it as much as we could. And last but not least, sorry, I can talk. Kali is recently joined our board. She's a local attorney here in Nevada. She is battle-born, which means that she was born here in Nevada. She's a 5th generation Nevadan, I think, like really long roots. And actually doesn't have kids, but is on our state board and is a tremendous advocate as our state legislative chair for children.
That's awesome.
Thank you, and it's so nice to meet you. As the state legislative chair, when it comes to diversity, I kind of enter with a different perspective, because it's an issue that I've been working on for a really long time, and I actually had a mentor who completely changed the way I see diversity as not just age or race or color, but, you know, are we reaching people who are homeless? Are we reaching people who are differently abled? Are we reaching people who suffer from illness, whether it be physical illness, COVID, cancer, or mental illness, depression? And so I kind of feel like we're in this world where we take 1 step forward and 2 steps back. And I guess what I'm looking for is, my question is, how do we continue to push that line of diversity in a world that seems to just be regressing every day?
We have to be intentional. Everything that we do has to be intentional. Why do we want to keep moving forward? Ask yourself that. Why? Why is it important that we keep pushing forward when we're talking about diversity? And you're right. Diversity is everything, right? We focus a whole lot on race and age, and religion and different things like that. But there are many categories that comes to diversity. And National PTA has been working on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Diversity is making sure that everybody in the room is counted. That's how I see it. Inclusion and being inclusive is making sure that everybody in the room's voice is being heard. And then making sure that equity is in the room is making sure that everybody has a playing field. So not only are they in the room, they have a voice, but not everybody's on an equal playing field and getting the same resources and hearing the same, giving the same input and making decisions. So when we're talking about being diverse in this association, everything that we do has to be intentional. And when we make it intentional, it automatically comes embedded in everything that we do from our communities. That's why having that position statement on racism was extremely important for us to get out, because it's been like a volcano that's been ready to explode, and it has exploded, right? And so if we don't start talking about it, and we keep covering it layer after layer after layer and putting band-aids over it and not really having the hard discussions about it, we will never understand why it's important to be diverse and why we should include everybody. We have to start having these hard conversations intentionally. And so we're just going to be honest and frank right now, okay? Let's just be honest and frank. So you have two things right now, like myself. You're a woman and you have a color. And so that matters to different people. To me, it doesn't, because you're just a woman who's passionate about advocacy and making sure that every child's voice and their potential becomes a reality, right? And how did I get there? Well, I've learned over the years, just being who I am, a woman of color, right? You learn how to go through these levels of different things. How do we teach people to do that? How do we reach out to communities that don't look like us and say, this is not just about me, but it's about your children as well? How do we work together to make sure that our children have the resources that they need everywhere? It's having these real conversations by being intentional. So when you're out there fighting for policies, make sure that these policies are inclusive and equitable for all kids. That's the conversations that we need to start having, and they are intentional moving forward. That's how we're going to progress and move forward. And by engaging everybody that don't look like us,
Yes.
and more.
Thank you. I love it. Thank you.
Well, we have ended on like the perfect time even. I'm not sure how that happened, because I could probably keep talking to you for a really long time. But thank you so much, Anna, for joining us tonight and sharing with us. I should have added more to your introduction. You've been a PTA leader for decades as well. You hail from the state of Oklahoma.
You said decades. Did you just say decades?
Sorry.
Girl.
10 years goes fast.
Boy, you're not lying. It does. It does. You're right.
I keep my baby's not a baby anymore, and I go, what? But I think two things I wrote down that I don't want to forget from tonight. You said intentional so many times, and I think that is a word that we can all take with us. How are we intentionally making choices to bring everybody to the table? And I loved the quote, to be headlights, not taillights, from Congressman Lewis.
Right, other back.
Yeah, because it's true, right? You make a choice by default. So we can either lead out front, or we're following other people that we may or may not agree with. And so thank you for sharing those, and appreciate you joining us. I have two people who've raised their hand. So do you have a few minutes and we can let people ask a question? I'm
for having me. I love this, right? We're not in person, so I can just give everybody a hug, but you know, I'm hugging y'all from afar, right? Because I'm a hugger. And Rebecca should know that I'm a hugger. So for you guys to invite me,
it's probably good that I can't be in person because for most stuff, because I'm a hugger too. I can't, it's not letting me. So if anybody has a question they want asked or to say something, can you put it in the chat and I will read it to Anna? I feel so bad. It won't let me. I don't know if it's because we're streaming onto another platform.
Okay, so while you're doing that, Rebecca, let me ask you the same question you asked me. Where do you see Nevada PTA being 10 years from now?
I want us to look like our community. I think that's what, to me, is the heart of it. And that also, but when I say look, I think that's too small of a word. I agree with Kali's comments. We make a lot of assumptions based on what people look like. My kids and my husband are people of color. And so those issues are for me, those are the people I love most in this world. And so there's so many issues that we make assumptions based on what people look like and don't realize there's so much diversity behind that. But I think Nevada has a strong history of independent spirit. We love to be independent here in Nevada, I've discovered. And I love that, but I also think PTA has a tremendous opportunity to bring that singular voice to be an advocate for children. I love how you started, that what you want to see is that every child has an advocate. And that's my word in PTA and the new membership campaign is advocate for your child. That's my heart. And I hope to see that expanded so that others can also benefit, so that because it's every kid. And, I believe that every parent cares about their kid, but not everybody has the tools, the resources, or the understanding at this current moment to know how to advocate best for their child. And I think that's the beautiful space that PTA provides, is that no matter how you come, you can find those resources to become a better advocate for your child or somebody else's kid.
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. When you talk about advocacy, people are like, oh my gosh, I don't feel comfortable talking to a congressman. But a lot of people don't know, when we are having parent-teacher conferences, we're advocating for our kids. That's a part of being an advocate for your child. It doesn't have to be talking in front of the President of the United States or the congressman or the governor of your state. It's simple conversations with teachers and principals and community leaders about investing in our kids. That's what advocacy is about.
Yeah. So it looks like one of the hands raised was an accident, at least, and the other I haven't heard from. So I'm going to think that maybe they were trying to clap instead of hand raise, because the icons look very similar, but we're in the webinar feature instead of the meeting feature. So they could easily be confused. But thank you, everybody, for joining us, and especially Anna King. I hope everybody knows now, next year at National Convention, you will want to make sure you attend National Convention, because Anna always speaks, and that's when I was introduced to her amazingness. Leslie, of course, is amazing as our national president right now, and has done so much to address needs during this COVID time. And so, not to diminish her amazing leadership.
She is amazing
right now.
And I am very honored to have the opportunity to work with her and stand beside her with our board of our other officers and our board of directors, because this has not been an easy task. She has lost her grandbaby this year, and she is doing some amazing things to move this association forward. So I'm very humbled to be having the opportunity to work with her, because she's amazing.
Yeah, and that's the power of PTA too, is that we have leaders who are volunteers who have the opportunity to help all of us improve and learn from each other, and that legacy that continues. So we are out of time tonight, but again, thank you so much for everybody. And for those of you who are attending the rest of LEAD this week, we have on-demand recordings happening to Wednesday and Thursday. So that means you can watch them when you want to, but we'll release 2 each day. And then on Friday night, don't forget, it's happy hour. Anna, you can come back and join us for happy hour if you want. Sorry.
Is Kamei gonna be there? Are you gonna be there?
I don't know. She's like, so we're going to celebrate. We are celebrating her. That's part of what happy hour is on Friday, is our celebrating our award winners.
Yeah, well, I have to come. Yes, please. I would love to be a part of that.
And then on Saturday, we have most of our live training will be on Saturday. And so make sure to check this platform that you're watching through, the Estelle Events Virtual Hub, and you can get all the information on those and more. So thank you, everyone, and have a great night.